There are many forms of communication. Some are wrapped in sound, delivered through the precision of words, arranged in sentences that attempt to convey thought and meaning. But beyond this audible layer, there exists another language, one that needs no translation, no dictionary, no spoken voice. It is the language of energy. And while words can often be disguised, hidden behind masks or intentions, energy is far more honest. It does not lie, it does not conceal, it reveals. Energy speaks louder than words, and whether you are aware of it or not, you are constantly both speaking it and receiving it. When you step into a space, before you utter a single word, your presence is already speaking. It carries the weight of your inner state, whether you are calm or restless, open or closed, aligned or fragmented. People sense it instantly. Sometimes it appears as intuition, a gut feeling, an immediate knowing that does not come from logic but from resonance. We often say, I don't know why, but something felt off, or I felt safe the moment I met them. This is energy communicating, broadcasting the truth that words may try to soften or cover. The power of energy lies in its subtlety. Unlike words, it does not require conscious construction. It emerges naturally from what you are cultivating inside. If your thoughts are rooted in fear, resentment, or insecurity, those vibrations move outward, painting the atmosphere around you. If your thoughts are grounded in peace, trust, and compassion, those vibrations are equally undeniable. The world responds to this broadcast. Life itself mirrors back what you carry, not because of what you say, but because of what you radiate. Consider the way a leader can inspire not only through speeches, but through presence alone. Their steadiness, their silence, their composure, it transmits assurance. Or think of a child who senses their parents' anxiety even before words are spoken, picking up on the nervous energy that lingers in the air. No matter how much reassurance is given verbally, the energy tells the deeper story. This is why energy must be acknowledged, cultivated, refined. Words can impress the mind, but energy impresses the soul. There is also the matter of authenticity. Words can be rehearsed, memorized, carefully arranged to create a certain image. But energy is the reflection of your true inner condition. When there is harmony between what you say and what you radiate, others trust you without needing proof. When there is dissonance, when words project confidence but energy whispers doubt, people sense the fracture. They may not know exactly why, but the message beneath the message is received. Energy is the silent judge of authenticity, and it speaks with clarity that cannot be denied. The cultivation of energy begins with awareness. Ask yourself, what am I carrying into the world today? Is it heaviness or lightness? Is it agitation or peace? The more you become conscious of your inner state, the more you realize the responsibility that comes with it. To walk into a room carrying unresolved anger is to spill that energy into the collective space. To arrive with a spirit of calm is to offer others a sanctuary they might not find elsewhere. This is why mastering your own energy is a form of service, not only to yourself but to everyone you encounter. Energy is also contagious. Just as laughter spreads without effort, so does tension, so does serenity. When you are in the presence of someone deeply aligned, you feel lifted even if no words are exchanged. Their energy speaks encouragement, stability, clarity. The same is true in reverse. When surrounded by negativity, your own vibration can be pulled downward if you are not attentive. This is why alignment is not only personal practice, but also protection. To refine your energy is to guard your spirit against the storms that others may unconsciously carry. Silence plays a profound role in the way energy communicates. In silence, words are stripped away, and what remains is the essence of being. When you sit quietly with someone, without distraction, without chatter, what is being exchanged is not verbal but energetic. The silence amplifies it, making the unspoken louder than anything that could be said. In this way, silence is not absence but amplification. It is the stage upon which energy delivers its purest message. Think also about how nature communicates. The ocean does not speak in sentences, yet its rhythm tells you everything about its mood. The wind does not use language, yet you feel its intention on your skin. A mountain does not explain its strength, yet standing before it, you know it. This is energy speaking without words, reminding us that communication is far more expansive than the human voice. To live attuned to this language is to expand the way you perceive the world. Every action you take is also a form of energetic speech. The way you move, the way you breathe, the way you treat the smallest details in your day, they all send signals. a simple gesture of patience, an act of generosity, a quiet discipline. These actions radiate energy that is louder than proclamations or promises. Life is not listening to what you say you will do, it is listening to the energy with which you do it. In truth, you are never silent. Even in the absence of words, your energy speaks continuously. It declares who you are in this moment, what you are holding, and where you are moving. To master this language is to recognize that your greatest influence is not in what you explain, but in what you emanate. Attention is one of the most subtle yet powerful forces within human life. Where attention goes, energy flows. The quality of your life is in many ways a reflection of where your attention has been directed and how consistently you have cultivated that focus. When you begin to realize that attention is not just a random flicker of awareness, but the messenger of your inner state, you start to understand why it is so essential to become conscious of it. Attention carries the message of what you value, what you fear, what you desire, and what you reject. It does not lie, it does not disguise itself, it simply points to where you have invested yourself in this very moment. When you give your attention to anger, the messenger carries anger into your body and into your interactions with others. The rhythm of your breath changes, the tension in your muscles tightens, and the tone of your voice sharpens. You cannot deny what attention is transmitting, it reveals itself through your actions. In the same way, when you direct your attention toward peace, calmness, or gratitude, the messenger delivers those qualities into your life. Your nervous system softens, your voice steadies, and your eyes reflect a presence that others feel even without words. This is why in ancient traditions attention is treated like sacred currency. What you pay attention to is what you purchase for your inner world. To understand this more deeply, you must begin observing the wandering nature of attention. It does not stay in one place unless it is trained. Left unattended, attention runs to distractions, temptations, and fears. It chases after every sound, every movement, every craving that arises, and every time attention is scattered, the messenger returns with fragmentation. You feel restless, unfocused, drained, and disconnected because your energy has been dispersed in countless directions. This is the hidden cost of living without discipline over your attention. The mind feels tired not because it has worked too hard, but because attention has been wasted on things that do not nourish the inner being. Training attention is therefore the beginning of mastery. Just as the body can be strengthened by repeated exercise, attention can be sharpened by repeated redirection. When you notice that your thoughts have drifted into the past, gently bring the messenger back to this moment. When your imagination races toward an anxious future, return the messenger to the breath, to the step you are taking now, to the action at hand. Every time you guide your attention back, you are showing the messenger where to deliver energy. Over time, this practice builds a reservoir of stability. The mind becomes less reactive, the body less agitated, and the emotions less volatile. Consider how relationships are shaped by attention. When you truly listen to another person with full attention, you give them a message of value and presence. They feel seen, they feel heard, they feel that their existence matters. This is not achieved through clever words, but through the quality of attention you transmit. On the other hand, when your attention is divided, half on the person and half on your device, half on the conversation and half on your internal worries, the message delivered is one of disinterest and neglect. Relationships thrive or collapse not because of grand gestures, but because of the repeated messages carried by your attention. Attention also becomes the messenger in how you relate to yourself. The thoughts you continually entertain are the messages your inner self receives. If you focus on self-doubt, on criticism, on comparison, the messenger whispers these narratives into your body until they become part of your posture, your tone, your decisions. But if you shift attention toward resilience, learning, growth, the messenger delivers those qualities and you begin to embody them naturally. What you attend to shapes your identity, silently sculpting the way you move through the world. The subtlety of this truth is that attention is always active. Even when you do not consciously choose, attention chooses for you. If you scroll endlessly through information, attention is transmitting distraction. If you obsess over conflict, attention is transmitting disharmony. If you dwell on scarcity, attention is transmitting lack. The messenger never stops. It always carries something, and it always brings the energy back into your being. This is why awareness of attention is the foundation of inner discipline. In moments of stillness, when you observe attention itself, a shift occurs. You begin to see that you are not the wandering attention, but the witness of it. From that witnessing, you gain the freedom to redirect. Attention no longer becomes a slave to every external stimulus. It becomes a loyal messenger that follows your conscious command. Then the messages it carries are no longer chaotic, but intentional. They bring clarity, peace, and alignment into your life. When you hold this understanding, the smallest choices transform. Drinking a cup of tea with undivided attention becomes a meditation. Walking with awareness of each step becomes a grounding practice. Speaking with focus becomes a transmission of presence. The ordinary is uplifted because attention is no longer wasted, it is harnessed. And through this harnessing, the messenger constantly delivers energy in its purest form back into your daily existence. Attention is not a passive flicker, it is an active bridge between the inner and outer. It is the invisible thread connecting thought to action, desire to manifestation, silence to expression. Whatever the messenger is carrying will multiply in your life. Thus, to master attention is to master the messages you are sending into yourself and into the world around you. Time is often believed to be a healer, a force that washes over wounds and hides scars. Yet, when looked at more deeply, time does not erase anything. It does not bury what is real. It only delays the moment when what has been hidden finally comes to the surface. The truth by its very nature cannot be destroyed. It cannot be drowned by the passage of years, nor can it be buried beneath layers of distraction, denial, or illusion. What is true continues to live quietly but persistently, waiting for the right conditions to emerge. When someone carries within them an unspoken reality, perhaps an emotion, perhaps a memory, perhaps a lesson they have refused to face, time may create the illusion of distance. Days become months, months become years, and the mind may whisper, "It is behind me." But in silence, the truth remains untouched, like a seed lying in the soil. The rain may not come for a season, the sunlight may be absent, but the seed does not vanish. It waits, and when the right moment arrives, it grows with unstoppable force. In the same way, no matter how long it is delayed, the truth reveals itself. There is a difference between what is temporary and what is eternal. Lies are temporary. Pretenses are temporary. Masks and roles that people wear in society are temporary. They fade, they fall apart, they become too heavy to carry. But truth belongs to the eternal. It does not rely on memory, reputation, or perception. It is independent of time. A person may deceive others for a season, may deceive themselves for years, but the structure of falsehood is fragile. It collapses when touched by reality. Think of water running over stone. At first glance, the stone appears unchanging, solid, immovable. But as time passes, the water reveals its strength. Slowly, quietly, persistently, the water carves through the stone. What is beneath is uncovered. The same is true with life. Time does not erase the truth. It only wears away the illusions built upon it. Eventually, what was hidden is uncovered, not because time is merciful, but because time is relentless. This is why those who live in alignment with truth experience peace, while those who live in avoidance experience unrest. When life is lived in harmony with what is real, there is no fear of exposure, no worry about what may be revealed tomorrow, no anxiety about what time will uncover. But when one builds their life on deception, on suppression, or on denial, time becomes a threat. Every passing moment becomes a reminder that the truth is still there, untouched and waiting. In relationships, the same principle holds. Words can be spoken to hide feelings, gestures can be made to cover intentions, appearances can be maintained to satisfy expectations. Yet the deeper reality always surfaces. If there is love, it will shine through despite silence. If there is resentment, it will leak out despite polite gestures. If there is emptiness, no amount of performance can mask it forever. Time tests the foundation of all connections. If they are built on truth, they endure. If they are built on illusion, they fracture. The same applies inwardly. A person may try to silence their own inner voice. They may occupy themselves with constant movement, with distractions, with noise, but the truth within does not disappear. The more it is ignored, the louder it becomes. At first it may whisper during moments of quiet. Later, it may cry out through unrest, through dissatisfaction, through a sense of heaviness that nothing external can fix. This is not punishment, it is simply the nature of truth. It seeks expression. It seeks acknowledgement. When truth finally emerges, it often feels overwhelming. But this overwhelm is not destruction, it is liberation. The weight of hiding, the energy spent on denial, the fear of being discovered, all of this falls away. What remains is simplicity. What remains is clarity. When truth is allowed to stand in the open, there is nothing left to protect, nothing left to maintain. Time then no longer feels like a threat, but like a companion, because there is nothing hidden that must be guarded. History, too, teaches this lesson. Entire civilizations have attempted to conceal their flaws, to rewrite their mistakes, to cover their injustices. Yet the truth emerges sometimes centuries later, sometimes after generations. Records are found, memories are revived, stories are told, and what was once buried comes alive again. No matter how carefully falsehoods are constructed, time dismantles them. The truth waits with patience greater than human control. To recognize this is to understand that there is no safety in hiding. There is no protection in delay. Facing what is real, even if it is uncomfortable, is less painful than postponing it. For when it is faced, it loses its ability to haunt. But when it is buried, it grows heavier with each passing year. And eventually, the weight of truth is greater than the strength of denial. Thus, to live fully, one must live transparently with oneself. It is not about confessing everything to the world, but about refusing to lie to one's own heart. When your actions are aligned with what you know to be true, you become unshakable. When they are not, you are in constant conflict with time itself, for time will not shield you. Time will not conspire with your illusions. It will simply do what it always does. Move forward, eroding everything that is false and leaving only what is true. When we speak of behavior, many people think of it as something superficial, an outer layer that is shaped by manners, culture, or social expectations. But if we look closer, if we pay attention beyond the surface, behavior is not just an act, it is the reflection of what resides deep within the heart. Every gesture, every word, every choice made in the quiet of one's life is like a window into the unseen world of one's inner state. Behavior is the language of the heart, expressed not through words alone, but through consistency, presence, and the energy behind action. It is easy to wear a mask, to pretend, to construct an image that pleases others. Yet, this mask eventually cracks because behavior is not sustained by appearance alone. The heart always finds a way to reveal itself. If bitterness grows inside, it will spill out in the tone of the voice, in the sharpness of words, or in the impatience of small actions. If peace is nurtured within, it will be sensed in the calmness of a presence, the gentleness of speech, and the steadiness of decisions. We cannot hide from the reality that behavior is an echo of the inner world. When we observe the behavior of others, we often rush to judgment without understanding the roots. Behavior is not born in isolation. It grows from thought, from intention, from the stories the heart has carried over time. A person who has been wounded may behave with defensiveness, not because the heart wishes to harm, but because it is protecting itself. Another who has cultivated gratitude and openness may behave with generosity, not for recognition, but because their heart overflows with abundance. By seeing behavior as a messenger of the heart, we can learn to observe without immediate reaction, to listen beyond the action, and to understand what lies beneath. Discipline in behavior is not about controlling the heart, but about training it. When one commits to discipline, the outer behavior shapes the inner condition. For example, choosing patience in moments of anger gradually cultivates patience within the heart. Speaking truth when it would be easier to lie builds strength and integrity in the inner self. In this way, behavior and heart are not only reflections of one another, but also builders of each other. Each action strengthens or weakens what lies within. Behavior is not just a symptom, it is also a tool for transformation. In the practice of silence and self-awareness, one begins to notice the subtle ways the heart communicates. The quick glance, the restless movement, the inability to sit still, all are behaviors that reveal the inner turbulence of the heart. On the other hand, the quiet posture, the attentive gaze, and the patient response reveal the depth of inner stillness. The heart does not always speak in words. Most of the time, it speaks through behavior. To learn to observe this language in oneself and in others is to step into a deeper understanding of human nature. There is also a responsibility here. If behavior reveals the heart, then each act we perform is not trivial. How we walk into a room, how we listen when someone speaks, how we respond in conflict, all of it reveals something true about us. The heart cannot be hidden in the long run. The repetition of behavior becomes the character, and character becomes the destiny. By paying attention to the small acts, we can trace the thread back to the heart, asking what truth is being revealed and what needs to be cultivated differently. The world does not respond to what we think or feel in secret. It responds to our behavior. It is through action that the heart communicates with life. A kind heart that never expresses kindness remains invisible. A compassionate heart that does not behave compassionately leaves no trace. Therefore, it is not enough to say one has a good heart. The world will know only through consistent behavior. The alignment between inner intention and outer expression is what creates harmony and authenticity. When behavior and heart are in conflict, there is a tearing within. Acting kindly while harboring resentment creates tension. Pretending strength while feeling fragile leads to exhaustion. This dissonance reveals that authenticity is missing. True peace comes when behavior flows naturally from the state of the heart without forcing, without pretending. In such alignment, behavior becomes effortless, and the presence of a person carries weight beyond words. It is often said that in times of ease, behavior can be polished and controlled, but in times of struggle, the heart is truly revealed. Pressure squeezes out what lies hidden. If bitterness is inside, bitterness will flow. If kindness is inside, kindness will remain even in hardship. This is why observing behavior in moments of challenge is the truest way to see the heart. Stress, anger, or loss strip away the masks, and what remains is the essence of the person revealed through their actions. Behavior is also contagious. The state of one heart expressed in behavior influences others around it. The calm behavior of one individual can ease the unrest of many. The careless behavior of one can spread negativity through a group. What begins in the heart of one person does not stay confined there. It radiates outward through behavior, shaping the energy of spaces, shaping the spirit of communities. Understanding this interconnection shows the responsibility each person carries, for every act contributes to the environment we all share. To refine behavior, therefore, is to refine the heart. To purify the heart is to elevate behavior. Both move together in a cycle. The cultivation of stillness, gratitude, and compassion within inevitably reshapes the outer actions. Likewise, the choice to consistently practice mindful behavior, even when the heart resists, will over time transform the inner state. The relationship between the heart and behavior is inseparable, each revealing and shaping the other in an endless loop. When we hear the word absence, we often connect it to a lack, a void, something missing that should be there. Yet in the subtle teachings of life, absence is not always a loss. Absence can be the space where something deeper begins to unfold. The absence of noise allows us to hear silence. The absence of constant movement creates stillness. The absence of endless distractions opens the door for awareness. In this way, absence does not diminish, it amplifies. It is the unseen condition that makes presence possible. Consider the breath. We often pay attention only to the inhalation, the drawing in of air, the fullness that comes with it. Yet what allows the breath to exist is the pause that follows the exhalation, the empty space in between. In that absence, the cycle continues. Without the emptiness, there would be no room for the next breath to arise. Life itself depends on this rhythm of presence and absence. The one cannot exist without the other. In the modern world, people chase after more possessions, more experiences, more recognition. The mind becomes conditioned to believe that value is measured by accumulation. But too much accumulation leads to heaviness. The weight of constant presence without the counterbalance of absence becomes overwhelming. A life filled with endless noise and clutter leaves no room for awareness, no space for clarity. The paradox is that only by creating absence can true presence be experienced. Think of the empty space within a cup. The clay forms the outer walls, but it is the hollow center that gives the cup its function. Without that absence, it could not hold water. Presence without absence becomes suffocating, while absence without presence is hollow. Harmony is found when the two dance together. Absence also teaches us about value. Imagine being surrounded by the same sound, the same sight, the same person every moment. Familiarity dulls awareness. It is when something is gone that we realize what it meant to us. The silence after music makes us appreciate the notes we heard. The pause between words makes the speech meaningful. The distance between two people can awaken a deeper recognition of connection. Absence, therefore, sharpens the edges of presence. When you sit in meditation, you begin by noticing the flood of thoughts that arrive uninvited. The mind wants to fill every corner with chatter. But as you let them pass, space begins to open. That space, empty of words, empty of thought, is not a void to be feared, but an absence that gives rise to presence. Within it, awareness expands. Within it, clarity appears. The more we allow absence to unfold, the more alive presence becomes. The same principle is found in nature. The night sky, filled with countless stars, is visible only because of the vast absence of darkness. The stars shine not in spite of the darkness, but because of it. A single candle becomes powerful in a dark room precisely because absence surrounds it. Presence becomes meaningful only when framed by absence. There is also a form of absence within the self that creates transformation. The absence of ego allows compassion to emerge. The absence of judgment creates room for understanding. The absence of constant desire opens the path to contentment. Each absence is not emptiness in a negative sense. It is a clearing, a release, a preparation for something higher to enter. Many people resist absence because it feels uncomfortable. Silence can feel unsettling. Emptiness can feel like loss. But this discomfort is the threshold to deeper presence. When we stop filling every moment with noise, we start to notice the subtler rhythms of life. The breath moving in and out, the heartbeat steady within the chest, the sensations of being alive. Absence removes the unnecessary so that the essential can reveal itself. Think of relationships. When two people are always together without pause, the value of each other's presence can fade into the background. But when absence arises, when there is space, the heart learns to miss, to value, to hold presence with greater care. Absence is not the enemy of love, it is one of its teachers. It is absence that deepens the appreciation of presence. The same can be said of achievement. Without rest, work becomes unbearable. Without absence from effort, effort loses its meaning. The athlete who never pauses cannot recover, cannot grow stronger. The mind that never rests collapses under its own weight. Absence of action is not laziness. It is renewal, a preparation for deeper presence when the time for action arrives. Absence also sharpens awareness of impermanence. We cling to people, to moments, to experiences, but their eventual absence reminds us that nothing lasts forever. Far from being only sorrowful, this recognition awakens gratitude. Knowing that presence is temporary makes us value it while it is here. The fleeting nature of life's moments is what makes them precious. Absence can even exist within presence itself, in silence between words, in the stillness within movement, in the emptiness within form. The skilled calligrapher knows that the empty space on the page is as important as the ink. The musician knows that the pause in a song carries as much weight as the sound. The martial artist knows that the stillness before movement creates the power of the strike. Absence is not nothing. It is everything that allows presence to shine. When absence is embraced rather than feared, it becomes a companion on the path of self-discovery. It teaches humility because it reveals that we do not need to constantly fill, control, or hold on. It teaches patience because in absence we learn to wait without forcing. It teaches surrender because absence strips away illusions of permanence and control. And in doing so, it grants us the possibility of touching something deeper than presence itself, the awareness that notices both presence and absence, the witness that remains untouched by either. From the moment the eyes open in the morning until they close again at night, there is a voice that continues to speak. It does not wait for permission, nor does it ask if its words are welcome. This voice, sometimes gentle and sometimes harsh, is what many call the inner dialogue. And while the world outside may fall silent, while conversations with others may end, this inner dialogue never stops. It flows like a river through the mind, carrying with it thoughts, judgments, memories, hopes, and fears. Most people are not aware of how constant it is. They believe that silence means silence, that quiet means emptiness, but if they were to pause and listen carefully, they would notice that behind the silence there is still a whisper. Even when the body is at rest, even when the mouth is closed, the dialogue continues its movement. It rehearses conversations that never happened. It creates outcomes that will never arrive. It argues, it comforts, it compares, it justifies, it doubts. This constant dialogue is not in itself a problem. What becomes the issue is when one identifies completely with it. When every word of the inner dialogue is taken as truth, the person becomes a prisoner of their own mind. Imagine being locked in a room where a voice is speaking endlessly, sometimes kindly, sometimes cruelly, and you have no ability to leave. This is what happens when awareness is absent. The dialogue becomes the master and the self becomes the servant. But awareness changes everything. Once a person begins to observe the dialogue rather than be absorbed by it, something subtle shifts. There is now a space between the voice and the listener. There is now the possibility of choice. The voice may say, "You are not good enough," but awareness hears it and does not accept it as truth. The voice may say, "You must succeed or you are a failure," but awareness sees it only as words passing by. The endless stream continues, but the identification weakens. Still, the challenge is that this dialogue never stops. Many people believe they can force the mind into silence, that with enough discipline or suppression, the inner voice will disappear. But suppression is not silence, and forcing is not freedom. Even when the surface appears calm, the undercurrent of thought is still moving. The mind is like a sky filled with clouds. Even if some clouds are pushed away, others will form. What is required is not the destruction of the dialogue, but the relationship one has to it. There is a practice in simply watching the dialogue as if it belongs to someone else. Imagine sitting in a room and a radio is playing in the background. You do not have to agree with everything the radio says. You do not have to argue with it. You simply notice the words, the tone, the rhythm, and you remain where you are. In the same way, when the inner dialogue speaks, awareness can remain as the silent witness. This is where freedom begins to grow. The dialogue never stops because the mind has been trained to keep moving. From childhood, thoughts are fed with stimulation. The mind learns to measure, to compare, to predict, to judge. It becomes a machine that never rests, and yet within this endless activity lies an energy that can be transformed. When the dialogue is no longer taken as a dictator, but recognized as a passing stream, the energy once lost in endless thinking returns as presence. Presence is the state of being here in this moment, unclouded by the endless stories of the mind. The dialogue may say, "Tomorrow you must prepare for this," or "Yesterday you failed at that," but presence sees only what is now. Presence breathes with awareness. Presence listens without judgment. Presence allows the dialogue to continue without being consumed by it. Still, the truth remains: the inner dialogue never stops. It will continue tomorrow and the day after, and for as long as the mind is active. But the experience of it can change. For the one without awareness, the dialogue is a storm that carries them wherever it goes. For the one with awareness, the dialogue is like rain falling on the roof while they remain dry inside the house. The sound is heard, but it no longer controls the state of being. This understanding requires patience. To observe the inner dialogue without being swept away is a discipline of its own. It demands that one practices listening without attachment. It demands that one accepts the constant nature of the voice without the need to erase it. It demands that one recognizes that silence does not mean the absence of thought, but the ability to remain still even when thoughts continue their endless movement. The inner dialogue never stops, and perhaps it is not meant to stop. Perhaps it is part of the human experience, part of the way the mind processes the infinite flow of life. What matters is not to silence it, but to rise above its influence, to see it for what it is: a stream of words, a rhythm of thought, an echo of past and future. And in this recognition, one discovers that beyond the dialogue, deeper than the noise, there exists a vastness that is untouched, a presence that is steady, an awareness that is unshaken, even as the voice continues its endless speech,